Welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I am your host, Coach Donnie Hess here, back with Here We Go, ladies and gentlemen, one of my favorite shows that I do every year. We have the AFL Trade, Free Agency, and Draft Review Show. This is one of my favorites. Cannot wait for this show every year because I get to sit down with a great footy loving mind and a person that I have fun every year going through this man's draft guide because the information that I get on some of these young men is absolutely incredible. Mr. Pete Williams of RookieMeCentral.com. Pete, it is great to see you again, sir, and welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Donny. It's good to be back. And yeah, it's I guess it's come to the end of the at least the men's season and draft and all that, and people can have a nice break from that element at least. When I come around to this podcast, it reminds me what time of year it is. So yeah, no, it's good to be back and another big draft to get stuck into.
Yep, always so much fun. This is the one where we get to talk about all of the off-season fun. We get to talk about who's moved clubs, who's where, who's changed, and what new young men have joined the AFL and hopefully get to experience their footy dream. Always so much fun. So let's start off through the calendar. Let's go to trade and free agency period. And wow, Pete, this was the year of the trade. This was the year some giant moves. I mean, we have names like Petraka, Oliver, Kerno have new homes. I'll go right into it. What's one of these trades that you think is going to make the biggest impact on this year? Because there's several that I think could be absolutely groundbreaking for this upcoming AFL season.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably named three of the clearly the biggest there. Obviously, Kerno going to your side is going to be a massive inclusion. He kind of just adds that certainty, and you obviously have better ball use coming out of the midfield to him, so he could do a lot of damage there. He's clearly one of the best players when he's up and about. And Petrarca, he's just all class. Yes, he is getting a bit older, but he doesn't need to do the grunt work anymore. Like Gold Coast's best part is the fact they have that midfield group that's so strong where for him, he can basically play off half forward, pinch hit when he feels like it, like rotate in. He could genuinely be like a 50, 60 goal a game, like a season forward. So he's someone I think will be really, really important to them. And like as you mentioned, Oliver to GWS, like obviously they got a strong midfield, but for the bargain they got him for, it's absolutely remarkable, like what they were able to kind of just bring in a player of his quality. Yes, he's got his sort of off-field issues and things like that are well documented, but at the end of the day, on field he's doing damn well. And there's a lot of teams that have taken risks, I feel, but at the same time, they've kind of rolled the dice to improve their overall list and move back up the order or remain in contention. And Gold Coast was definitely one of them. As we know, Sydney was one of them. GWS as well. Like those kind of teams that are say around the mark, like not too far off. They're either between that say 5th to 12th kind of group that they have to add something to it. I feel like they really did. So I think it's only going to strengthen the overall competition and bring some of those teams up to challenge the ones at the top.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Another I don't it wasn't one individual move, but I am fascinated with St. Kilda with what they did.
Mm.
I am absolutely fascinated. I mean, Jack Silvani, Tom DeConing, Sam Flanders, Liam Ryan, not bad players. Now, the question will be is how do they make them all fit? Because again, I've said it's Tom DeConing is the enigma of this group of this four because I don't know what he's going to be because at the start of the season with Carlton this year he was magnificent. I thought he was one of the better players in the competition at the ruck position. But as the season went on, I don't know if it was the weight of the decision, if Carlton's absolute capitulation really dialed into it, but I don't know if St. Kilda really upgraded at all. Like, and I don't know. It's just he's an enigma to me. Like, I think Silvani will be fantastic. I think having another ball user off the halfback line is great. The best part is they didn't lose Cal Wilkie. And this is my insider here. I know everybody in Swansland is so happy about Charlie Curnow. If you would have asked me at the start of trade period what was the one I would have loved to do, I would have rather gone after Cal Wilkie personally because I think they need that. I think Sydney needs that big defender to open up Tommy McCartan to become the intercept marker that I think he really is really good at. But that's me personally. But I'm like, I like what St. Kilda did, but again, it's there's a couple enigmas there. Sam Flanders, can he get back to the form he was a couple of years ago at Gold Coast? Liam Ryan, can he become that small forward to kind of be the yin and yang with Jack Higgins up forward? Um, so I don't know. St. Kilda was one of those that again, and most of them were free agency. There wasn't a lot of trades there. You didn't lose much. Jack Steele goes out the door. So really, in the long run, you bring in four, you lose one in the long run. That's a +3 for me. So I don't know. St. Kilda was one of those. I sat there and I nodded a little bit. I want to go here really quickly for you as a Collingwood guy and man that you are your thoughts on Collingwood's moves because they really didn't make many changes. You bring in Jack Buller, you let um, oh my God, Brody Majacek out the door. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a one for one. There wasn't a massive amount of change. As the Collingwood man that you are, I mean, are you okay with a kind of a lighter trade period for the Pies?
Look, I mean, clearly, if we're talking pure needs, he's exactly what Collingwood needs. Will he deliver? That's the question. Like, he obviously showed some really promising signs, and you've got a lot more depth in that area compared to us. And no doubt the fact that they knew Charlie was going to be coming in, they thought, well, there's not going to be a role for him. Not much like value wise, it was cheap. Like he could add something. There's no
Mhm.
real risk there. We knew Myercheck was going to be going out the door because he was wanting that 3 years, and I think that was just a bit too much. Like he tapered off towards the end of the year, and he's been a warrior. He's been one of my favourite players over since he's joined the club, really. And it was sad to see him go, but at the same time, it is a business, and 3 years was just too much to offer. I think with the list we have, and we know that if we're not careful, it could fall off a cliff really quickly. So I think getting that youth in is not too bad. But in terms of like where they go from here, they've got one shot. I think most people can kind of see that we've got one shot next year. Um, will it? Will they be able to get that extra 2 wins in? They weren't far off a prelim win. They really pushed Brisbane, and considering
Mhm.
what Brisbane did in the grand final, it was definitely a pretty good performance. It just wasn't 4 quarters, and that's what it was in the end. But like I mean, at the end of the day, they've still got that class and the experience. Like I sort of say to people, I think we're too good to drop down next year. Like we probably will the year after if we're not careful. But I think we've got too much experience to just completely fall away. I think that we'll make finals. I'm not sure how high in the finals. And I think that really depends on whether the young kids come on. Because if they come on, all of a sudden, like even if you get 3 or 4 of them suddenly have really good years to, surround Nick Dacos, then suddenly you're like, all right, cool. Like there is hope there. But if they don't, and we're still relying on your Howes and your side bottoms and your Pendleburys to be among those top 7, 8 players, then we're in deep trouble for the future. So we need some of those players to come on, and hopefully they
Mhm.
do. But right now we've got probably definitely one of the best young kids, if not the best young kid in the land, and there's not much around him. We need players to support him. So hopefully that happens.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. So let's go to the opposite. We kind of knew Petrarca was on his way out. We knew that Curnow was the talk of going. The question, I want to go to one move that didn't happen, and just your thoughts on it. Zach Merritt's non-move from Essendon to Hawthorn, because I'm not sure if I'm shocked that he didn't move because I kind of appreciate Essendon kind of going, no, we just don't feel like you need to go. You're still a piece that we like. Are the Bombers playing with fire a little bit because your best player, I do not believe he's going to be captain. I agree with most people on that one. I think the captaincy will find itself on somebody else this year because a disgruntled player that wanted out is probably not the best person you want leading your club. Again, I think Zach Merritt is a honorable footballer. I think he's a class footballer. I think he'll play where he's at. But man, is this is a potential for some interesting storylines through the entire year of Zach Merritt did not getting his move to Hawthorn.
Yeah, I'll be interested when they're all back at training, like the senior. I know the kids are all coming back now for clubs, but I'll be interested when he's back and he has to go look at the likes of Mason Redmond and all these kind of guys
Mhm.
that are that have made these comments over the off season. Now, generally, you make those comments once they're gone, not before they go, because if they don't go, then suddenly that's going to be a few awkward
Yep.
exchanges in the locker room. So and I mean, how does that even go in terms of, you got to run out alongside him and go, look, is he actually going to play with us? Like, even though, they're
Yep.
meant to be professionals and all that, there would be doubt in their minds that, hang on, is he with us or is he going to bugger off next year? Like, there's going to be some issues there. And Essendon, I mean, it's no real secret. They haven't had the best sort of 15 odd years, 20 years. So they really don't need that uncertainty. In saying that, it was good of them not to roll over, and I think that I definitely respect them to not take it. It was a very good deal. I felt it was a very good deal, like picks wise.
Mhm.
They were definitely Hawthorn were definitely trying to just move on their um, VFL players or depth essentially. I think if there'd been a gun that had been involved, then
Yep.
they probably would have done it, like a Weddle or someone like that. Like even if they
Mhm.
cut the picks and
Yeah.
said, "We'll take a Weddle and one pick" or something like that,
Yep.
they probably do it. But they were going, "No, no, we're not taking your VFL players or your depth no matter how many picks you offer us." And Hawthorn's picks are not going to be, Norths or
Mhm.
West Coast picks. They're going to be pretty, you'd think, at least in the teens. So they're not exactly top end. Tassie's coming in a couple of years. It's going to bump them back to probably the 20s. So
Mhm.
I kind of get where they're coming from. They're like, no, I think we're good. So I just think I'm interested to see the chemistry when they're all back at training because there will be cameras everywhere there.
Yep.
Everyone will be watching to see how they act and how they react to each other. And I just think it's got the potential to bubble, even if they keep it private. But there'd have to be people that are questioning it within the club, like other players. So it will be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I saw there was a few outlets that even said usually Zach Merritt is back with the first and second year players. This year was the first time that he hadn't. So
Mm,
it already there's already whispers and there are already
yeah,
discussions on that. I'm 100% with you. Like I think if there is a player, a top five on their list caliber player, I think Hawthorne jumps at it. I think it's absolutely there. But it's just one of those situations where Hawthorne was just they were trying to get him as cheap as possible because they knew there was the Discord. And Essen just went, know what? We'd rather deal with the Discord than take your scraps. So I
yeah,
100% get it. 100% get it. Again, you're playing with fire a little bit. I mean, you're turning the gas on in the house, lighting a match, and hoping you don't get a vapor. So
yeah.
it's going to be interesting keeping
Mm.
it down, keeping it at the hangar for absolutely for sure. And then I want to talk about this. It's like everybody talked about the Petrarca trade. I think that was the one. But it's the other piece the Gold Coast got that I'm very, very fascinated on. And again, there's so much talk with this young man. It's Jamar Hagen's move up to the Gold Coast. Again, a full year out of footy, did not play at all this year. Is this sneakily the trade that could get Gold Coast into premiership talk for you?
Well, I think the Petrarca one was enough to get them into Premiership talk. To be honest, I
Yep,
think they weren't that far off if you think about it.
I agree.
They were right up there, and I think they've had their 1 year finals to get used to it, and then they should move on from here. But in saying that, he was traded for pick 74, so
Packet of
there's
chips.
zero risk there. Yeah, there's zero risk there. Now, if he doesn't adapt to the lifestyle, he has the same off field issues, anything like that, then they haven't really lost anything. Like, I
Yep,
don't think it's
yep.
any risk to them. But what he could be, we've seen him at his best. He's crazy good when he's at his best. Sure, it's
Hmm.
not consistent even when he was on the field, but some of the stuff he can do, a lot of footballers can't do. So I think if he even adds, half of what he was at the Dogs, then they've got someone really, really good, and they can't afford to like opposition teams not watch him because obviously like Ben King's always going to take the number one defender, so that'll probably help him as well. If he
Hmm.
does play, he's not going to get the number one defender, so that's a big bonus already. So, and Jed Walters coming through as well,
Yep,
so that they do have
that
some
was the
young
other one.
kids
Yep.
that are developing. So, yeah, I think they're a very dangerous looking side, and they definitely should be in that premiership contention. I think.
Yeah. Well, it'll definitely be interesting too. Is does Dimma try to play three? Does Dimma try to play three talls with King, Weller, and then with Ugelhagen, does he try to play three talls? Or do we have a rotation to where there's one that's always going to be sitting on the sidelines? And with the
Mm,
five on the bench this year, does he go with three and then rotate the three amongst each other so then they're always fresh on the field? It'll be fascinating. I'm with you. Like if they get good Jamara, it is scary the
mm,
machinations, especially considering Bailey Humphrey stayed. I know there was talk of Bailey Humphrey potentially leaving too. Him staying just makes this Gold Coast team again. It's you got to pick your poison when the ball goes forward. When the ball goes forward, it'll be fascinating to see how that goes. I mean, so it's, but I'm one of those. It could be scary good for a packet of chips to get Jamar Oglehagen into the building, but again
mm,
you got to get him healthy and you got to get his head into footy because right now
mm,
it has been anywhere else except on the football field and getting his footy right. So I'm hoping it does because the kid is too talented to not. But there
yeah.
have been too many indiscretions for me personally. I know at one time Sydney was marked up with him, and I know there was a lot of people on some of the forums that I keep track of that said he's not worth the headache. I get that the
Yeah.
kid is talented, but there are some headaches you just don't want to deal with, and that was
Mm,
probably one of them. I there's one other one because I know that there's a lot of talk about the rookie draft was had come up and the as somebody that keeps track of under 18-year-olds and again this is a little bit of the dirt and a little bit of the underhanded tactics I'll say again I don't want to call it dirty because it really isn't because it's part of the rules the redrafting of delisted players. As somebody that keeps
mm,
track of 18-year-olds, and again, sometimes what this does is this bottlenecks some 18-year-olds down. And again, there's some people that could say, well, this is actually good for the state leagues because these high caliber 18, 19, and 20-year-olds are now having to play in the state leagues because of these aged veterans being redrafted. So, as somebody that keeps track of these 18-year-olds, do you not like this redrafting of delisted forwards in the rookie drafts and even our three of Burns, Stringer, and one other one that were drafted in the regular draft
mm.
that were basically redrafts of guys they delisted?
Yeah, I think the way to solve it is other teams taking them. That's the best way of doing it. That'll stop them real quick. I don't so much have an issue in the national because if you want to waste a pick on a player you've already got to put them back on, great. But I think with the rookie, it has become a bit of a joke. I think most people have sort of seen that. Like, I mean, when you're getting like premiership players and 30-plus year olds getting redrafted as rookies to kind of just shift the cap, it's probably time to just not call it a rookie draft anymore, or call
Hmm.
it not call it a rookie list because they're not rookies anymore. Like they are, but
Yep.
yeah, like it used to be for kids. Rookie lists used to be for kids who were perhaps not quite ready, or they just got left over for whatever reason, and clubs were like, "Yeah, I want to take that kid."
Hmm.
Because I wasn't expecting them. They had high picks, and then suddenly they're there at the rookie draft. That's what it's realistically for. But it's sort of morphed into something else now. And I think for a lot of clubs, if they sign players for too long, they do this to not, I guess, burden their salary cap too much because they're already paying them. So they
Hmm.
don't want to delist them because that's already more salary they're just throwing out for nothing. So they've got to relist them. So there probably has to be some kind of mechanism for people who are much smarter and much more involved with the list management side at AFL level to do. But for me, yeah, I don't like the look of the rookie draft at the moment because, there were what 6 players taken that weren't already on lists type
Hmm.
thing. So I think for me that's like and so many players. I don't mind the passes because SSP and all that. That's
Hmm.
fine, but I think redrafting 30-plus year olds in in the rookie draft is a little bit off the nose, I think, like
Yeah.
for me. But if you want to re-rookie your rookies, like say they're 22 and you had them as a rookie and you
Hmm.
want to re-rookie them, but you know you've run out of time, so you got to send them back and redraft them. Fine, but like yeah, when they're sort of 30, and I know your club did it with a couple too. So,
Hmm.
but
No,
every club's kind of done it. So
I will never not hold back. I will never hold back from the quiver. I will pull the arrows if I need to. And it was, trust me, there were a few people even in Swansland that were like, seriously, like technically Rampy and Lloyd are signed, but
mm,
they were like there was some confusion about it, and it was like, and then I heard the rumors. They were like, well, they're gonna redraft him, and I was like, I get it. It's the machination that you can't. It was
mm,
like I know Sydney also had done this before with one of the draft rules one time. They did something and then the rule changed the next year because
mm,
I mean, when you find a loophole, sometimes you have to
yeah,
pull it. I get it. I don't like it, and I agree. I agree with you. I think what it does, it takes it kind of makes a mockery of rookie draft
mm,
is really what it does, and I 100% agree with it. So I will not pull back. I mean, I will needle even my club as well. I will 100% go on that. So no, I'm 100% with you. So there are two clubs I want to go back really quickly before we hop into the draft, and I want to talk the draft because I thought this draft was incredible. It's going to be an interesting draft class. Cannot wait to talk about it. Two clubs I want to get real quick because they made significant moves and significant moves in a different way. Let's start with Brisbane because I mean, a team to they're premiers.
yeah,
How in the hell does a premier get better? Because Sam Draper comes in, Oscar Allen comes in. This is already a really good team. You just picked up some really damn good players in there, and all that walks out the door is Brandon Starcevich to the West Coast Eagles. Like it isn't a like for like when it comes to it, but I mean Sam Draper is a extremely talented ruck when he's healthy.
mm,
Oscar Allen can be an extremely good forward when he's healthy. These moves legitimately, if I'm the rest of the competition, would irk the crap out of me because Brisbane might have gotten better, and I don't know how that's possible.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it definitely helps. Well, like when you're successful, and they've come from two clubs that have not been successful. Obviously, you know,
Hmm.
Allen with the 2018 flag, but aside from that flag, Essendon clearly haven't been successful in a long time. West Coast, the last few years of, you know, we know what they've been. They've bottomed completely
Yep.
out. So you can understand why those players are wanting to leave, and they want to go to the top. They see that, oh, there's this and that, and they can do it. And free agency has kind of lent that way too, and every
Yeah.
team will have ebbs and flows and things like that. Like even Richmond, like Tom Lynch, remember when he went from Gold Coast when they were struggling,
Yeah.
went to Richmond, and that it's those moves that you kind of feel a little bit icky with, and you're like, but it is what it is. Like they want to go to the clubs that are successful. Like you kind of feel, I don't know. I've kind of always wondered if with free agency, the club that is receiving them has to give something up, like a pick, like it's their pick that gives up for them for that player, rather than the other club that is losing the player gets a pick. Because
Hmm.
I feel like when they kind of do that, like if they are able to give up their pick and everything like that, then they're essentially trading for them, but you know,
Hmm.
via the AFL. Because when they do give a pick to another team because they've lost a player, other teams are disadvantaged. Where if like the team that is gaining the player loses, then other teams are advantaged because
Hmm.
they obviously lose that pick. Everyone moves up. So therefore, it's like the other teams get a benefit even though that other team is gaining a player. So,
Hmm.
like, I feel like that would have been the way to go. But of course, again, like, it's just kind of, yeah, chatting and trying to work out how that would work and what would
Hmm.
go down. But for me, I think it's up to the other clubs again to go to the players that are perhaps in their, 21 to 30 bracket and go, hey, we can offer you more. They're bringing this kid in, you're about to go out, like that kind of thing. We could give you a proper spot. It's up to the other clubs to get proactive and put doubt in their minds and start bringing them in and
Yep.
saying to them, hey, would you like to come over here and all that? Because Brisbane are going to have so many good youngsters. Like what's stopping a club going to Sam Marshall and offering him, 900 a million a year that Brisbane are never going to be able to offer,
Yep.
and go, hey, you're a great kid. You might be the fourth, fifth best midfielder. You might not even get it. You might be a winger. Like, come play
Mhm.
us. You can be with us in the midfield. We'll give you this. Like, there's nothing stopping clubs doing that.
Yep.
And that's the thing. I think it's up to the other clubs to go for those clubs and actually target those players, because
Yep.
it does happen, but it's usually when the clubs are on the downfall, when they start to lose their players and things like that, rather than when they're still in their peak, where
Yep.
clubs really should target those players and go, hey, you can make a difference. Let's bring you in. We'll offer you money. Do exactly what St Kilda did. Like, just offer them a lot of money and see where it goes from there, really.
Yep. No, I'm 100% with you. I know and I know some people, and I hate doing it personally because I know it irks some Australians off. Is I know that happens all the time over here. Like championship teams, they get raided because other teams that have money are going to go to that first person off the bench, just in basketball, like that sixth man. They're going to go and they're going to pay him big time money because
Mm,
they know he's coming from a championship roster. It's the best way. And I've noticed the AFL doesn't do that. It's like the rich get richer and the poorer get poorer. And I think that's kind of
mm,
the frustrating about it. It's like I sit it and I go, I want to St. Kilda to go after one of the Ashcroft brothers. I know they probably aren't going to go, but it's going to put down into people's minds. Hey, we know St. Kilda put down an offer to say, hey, Levi Ashcroft, here's what we'd love to have you. When you become a
mm,
free agent, here's what's sitting on the table. Here's a 7-year deal. You're going to be one of the highest paid players in the entire AFL. You don't have to sit there behind a Lockie Neal and two other guys. This is your chance to be
mm,
the man.
yeah.
And I'd be interested to see if clubs start doing that, especially with Tazzy coming in very soon. Are teams going to get more aggressive in going after young, talented stars at Brisbane because of the fact that I mean, they're just absolutely loaded. But I'm also one of those. The injury history of both Oscar Allen and Sam Draper leaves me a little bit worried because you never know. Like they could
Mm,
come up there and boom, they get hurt again, and it's great that they're on the list, but it's just one more spot that they don't have somebody there. So
mm,
it's going to be fascinating to keep an eye on Brisbane this year again. One of the best lists in the competition. There's no argument
mm,
at all. And then let's go to another one that made several moves. Like I'm just sitting here looking at the list of people they brought in and people that left, and that's Carlton
mm,
because I mean it has been a basket case the last couple of they've made a couple of finals, but even still there is no harmony at Carlton at all. So I mean Charlie Curnow, Jack Silvani, Tom DeConing, Corey Durden all find their way out to other clubs, but not a bad haul. Will Hayward, Liam Reedy, Campbell Chester, Ben Ainsworth, Ollie Florent. Is it the names in the flash of the Curnows, the Silvanis, and the DeConings? No. But the one thing I think we all have to admit is the guys they brought in, there's some scoring, but there's ball movement because the one thing that has been killing Carlton is their butchering of the footy with footy in hand.
mm. Yeah, no, I think they've added some pieces that are very, very good, like as in like underrated good.
I
I think
agree.
obviously the two guys they got from the Swans, I think that's gonna like they'll immediately be two of their best players in their front half from like the medium smalls, because
Mhm.
they've had this roundabout way of having so many small forwards that realistically just haven't worked. Like obviously different ones at different times, your Owies, your Motlops, all that kind of thing, Jack Martins, some of them are now at other clubs. Like this is the thing, they keep rotating them through, see what works, doesn't really work, hard to work with, because at the end of the day, everyone still just goes to Charlie or Harry. Now
Mhm.
that Charlie's gone, Harry has to be that player that kicks 70 goals a year if they're going to make finals. Like he's that guy. And then what I imagine they would hope to get is like out of a Hayward, get like a 30 plus goal a year like
Mhm.
season, like that kind of thing. Get a few more players that can kick those goals and stand up, because they just don't have enough that can do that often, and it definitely hasn't been helped by their midfield not being able to deliver it as efficiently as it could. They've got such a great inside presence. Now, obviously, Cripps is just the front of that, but he's
Mhm.
getting older now, much like others, and that's the thing. And there's got to be a stage where they sort of stand up. Walsh has had his injury issues. I think that he can be a very good player on his day and take over from that. Um, but like that's the thing, they've got the inside. They traded for it in recent years, but they've just got to try and make it all work. And I think adding those players adds a bit of X factor, a bit of spark. Obviously, Reedy for De Conning's probably, the I guess the biggest gap of quality, if you like. But other than that, like he's still, young ruck, coming through, developing, that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. But I think, yeah, Hayward in particular, and Florent obviously are two that I think will add something immediately to their squad, which will be really good. And yeah, they're always thereabouts. Again, they're amongst those mid-tablers. Can they win the flag? I don't think they can, to be honest. But I think they're not out of shot of playing finals if they get it all right.
Mhm.
They're probably just out for me, but they're not. I don't think they're as bad as some people are making out. I think some people are expecting them to bottom down, like go down to bottom four, bottom six. I don't think they're that bad. I think they're mid-table. I think they're in that mid six, that
Mhm.
7 to 12 bracket.
No, I'm with you on that. It really just depends on what they get. Like especially the two Swans players. I think Ollie Florent can be an incredible halfback flanker because his kick is one of the best. He can go on the wing too. I think it's a good addition when it comes to quality of ball. Why everything fell out with the Swans, I'm still baffled with. I mean, a couple of stories came out with how Will and Ollie were treated by the Swans was a little frustrating for me as a Swans fan. I will openly admit I was a little ashamed on how the Swans handled it. I think they really didn't handle it very well. I think I think they kind of fell for the Kerno trade and kind of forgot that there's people that have to go the other way and you kind of have to treat them. So I was a little frustrated there, but I think Flort and Hayward could both be incredible. Hayward can get you 30 goals a game. He doesn't need many touches to put up 2 or 3 goals a game. That's just simply Will Hayward. He's going to give you effort. He's not the flashiest player. He's not going to get you 20 disposals even for a forward half player, but he is going to be somebody that if he gets the ball in dangerous areas, he can put him on the scoreboard. And Ollie Florent, again, he can hit a teacup from 40 meters. The guy has an incredible kick, which is what Carlton needs. They just did not have ball movement, quality ball movement in their roster. So no, I'm 100% with you. I think they hover around that 8 to 10. I think they're that 7 to 12. I agree with you. I think that they're gonna if they make finals, they just barely get in. I don't think they'll I agree with you. They're not a bottom four or bottom six side. They're not. There's still quality there. Um, the interesting thing will be is how does Walsh handle the free agency chatter? I know that there's already people talking about where's Walsh going? Is he going to stay and is he going to stay at Carlton? Is he going to move on? I think that'll be the biggest thing for Sam Walsh will be is how does he handle the free agency or can Carlton get him signed early? Like that'll be the biggest question for them. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I just had a look too. I didn't realize Liam Reedy was already 25. I thought he was in that 22, 23 back bracket.
Mhm.
So he really, as a ruck, should be hitting his straps now. Like, obviously, hasn't played a lot, but hopefully he can kind of be that backup and he might be a bit more, a bit more pure. Obviously, Pitney can only do so much. So he adds a bit more depth in there. And yeah, look, hopefully it's on the up for them. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to see. They need a lot to align. I think that's
Mhm.
that's the thing.
Yep. No, I'm 100% with you on that. And Pitnet is serviceable, and I know at the end of the year, Pitnet was probably more the preferable ruck when it came to decoding. So it'll be fascinating again. How does Carlton kind of handle that for sure? But we've done the free agency, we've done the trade talk. Let's get to why you're one of the reasons I want you on the podcast because again, you just do such incredible work at rookiemecentral.com. I have the pleasure of sitting here on my other screen with Rookie Me Central's draft guide. And again, this thing is incredible. I joke with some people, this is my Bible around draft time because I sit here and I go through this. The information is incredible. Being so far away, this is my way of learning some of these young men's talents, their skills, what they're going to come into. So let's hop right into it, Pete. The draft has come, it has gone. We have 60 players in the draft. Again, we'll kind of take that down to 58 because of a couple of redrafts with Ryan Burns and Jake Stringer towards the end. We'll discuss, we can discuss that a little bit later if you want, but talk me through this because I agree with on draft night. This may not be the flashy, the number one overall, the generational talent that I know that some that word, that buzzword gets thrown around way too much come draft time. This is a talented group. They may not be the flashiest, but they're talented, they're deep, and this could be an impactful draft, despite its lack of superstar talent at the top of at the top of the list.
Yeah, I think the big thing with this draft was, even though Dersma by the end was probably touted as the clear, if you like, number
Hmm.
one pick, he wasn't like the gap that you've had in past years with
Yeah.
like your Harley Reeds and things like that. Like, if Duff Tytler had gone one, if Euland had gone one, if Patterson even, like, there's four or five of them that were really, really even in the end, even Annabelle, like, depending on who you preferred and what you needed, it was someone there for everyone. Like even Harry Dean snuck up to three. Like it was a very even draft in that top group. You kind of everyone knew who was going to go in that sort of top seven or so picks. It was just the order, and when the
Mhm.
bids came in and things like that, and if it had been almost reversed, it would not have been a shock. Like that's the thing. It was very, very even from the outset. And I think a lot of different people, like I had at the start of the year, I had Euland as my pick one. And obviously, he was never going to go pick one once they kind of got to the end of the draft and, oh, draft night. And obviously, he had his injury as well. But I still think he's potentially the pick one. Obviously, Dersma's right there with him as well. And Duff Tytler, for what he could be, he's obviously a bit different. But I definitely think the top end is very, very even. And I think then it just when it breaks down after about the first round or thereabouts, it just was a free for all. I think that everyone had different orders, everyone had different lists. The amount of times that you went, oh, this will have to be this player, it'll have to be this player, and it wasn't, and it just kept sliding. And certain players, as we know, like obviously Greaves went to the rookie draft when I think there probably would have been about 30 different picks before that fans would have said, "Oh, we're going to get him," and then they overlook him
Mhm.
or things like that. Hibbins Hargraves, like obviously another one that was really, really unlucky not to go. Like, and then they're picking up a few mature ages, or they're picking up some kids who were probably rated externally a bit lower, or even by a lot of the clubs a bit lower. And then there's just this one club that rates them way higher than others, and they pounce. So.
Mhm.
That's what draft night is. It's all about the different preferences, and I think it showed that it was a pretty even draft. Um, and unless you're Port Adelaide, who just clearly held disdain for the draft crop, everybody else, yeah, we were able to get something they liked. So yeah,
Yeah, I was chuckling a little bit at that. It was like I was like Port Adelaide just decided, yeah, we're just not interested. It was just
yeah,
so it
I
was
did
fascinating.
message one of the Port recruiters and said, "Hope you haven't worked too hard tonight." So just enjoyed the good food, I think. So yeah, no, for sure.
I have to ask, did you get a response?
Oh, look, it was more just a general about the draft. I think they like their opinion was that power and speed was essentially the key to the draft.
Mhm.
There were a couple of teams that didn't, but it was generally the theme. So they just enjoyed watching it rather than taking anyone. So
Mhm.
it is what it is. So yeah, they were happy to just sit back and enjoy the dinner, I think, and yeah, like they're obviously there in case there's any trades that they need to make in terms of like
Yeah.
shuffling picks. So they're there for that. But otherwise, they had a pretty cruisy night. So
Yeah, definitely a lot easier for them, a little less stress. But it'd be fascinating be fascinating to see that the discussions in their war room for sure. So, I mean, let's go through it. I mean, I think let's talk about the elephant in the room. And I know many in the area that you live in when it comes to the footy is everybody wants to talk about four more academy players for the Gold Coast Suns: Zeke Eulin, Dylan Patterson, Jai Murray, and Bo Addisall all go in the top 20 for the Suns. But I want to make sure that I toss this out there. And again, I know it was talked about on draft coverage night. This was again, I get it. This is great for the competition. Getting Queenslanders that are top level players into the competition is great because the Victorians, the South Australians, and the Western Australians have really dominated for years to come. But the good thing is on the horizon. Again, Victorian fans, listen to us. There is not the high caliber player for the next couple of years coming out of the Gold Coast Academy. So this whining and whinging again always kind of seems like if they can't get an advantage, then the Victorians complain. But when they have the advantage, they're awfully quiet. So talk me through this again. Four picks in the top 18. Again, I think it's also the fact that they trade a couple of top level first rounders for Christian Petrarca, yet they still get Zeke Euland at two. They still get some high caliber players. Again, all very worth it. They've spent the money to get these young players ready for the AFL. They get to wear Gold Coast jumpers. But again, the vitriol from Victorian fans is always interesting on draft night.
Yeah, look, I think that yeah, like the Petrarca deal's what's made it amplified it a lot worse. I think that's
Hmm.
the thing. The fact that they traded out picks that if they'd matched with those picks, probably no one's saying too much. Like if
Yep.
they're getting a Newland and a Patterson and they have to give up their 7 and 8, they're going, all right, fair enough. You know,
Hmm.
you've given it up. That's what it is. But the fact that it kind of like you trade those picks out, you get Petrarca in, and then you pick kids that are higher than those picks. It's kind of like yeah, they got the cake and ate it too.
Hmm.
But in saying that, like I said, I've always said this, I don't have an issue with any of the Northern Academies or the NGAs. Everyone benefits from it. I think that that's just, it's the way it is. It's ebbs and flows. It's just the flavour of the month. And when they go a bit quiet, then it'll be picking on another team or another thing here or whatnot. And I tend to find that if they pick up academy kids that go late in the draft, no one really cares. Like no one cared that Will Darcy went at pick 60. I noticed
Hmm.
there wasn't too much of a fuss about that. But that's the thing. Like no one cares about that. In the same way that Josh Dacos, I know from my own club, when he went really late in the draft, no one bid on him. All of a sudden, people use that as an argument of, oh, well, they got this as an advantage. Yeah, he turned good. No one bid on him in the draft when he had it. So, like, that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of revisionist, and I can
Yeah.
guarantee you, if Will Darcy becomes a player, suddenly they're going to be like, oh, and they got him at pick 60. Yeah, you all could have bid, but you
Yep.
chose not to, and then he became better.
Errol
Like,
Goulden going in the 30s. I know
oh, that,
Shifter talked about that on in the draft coverage. He goes how he fell this far. And again, it's another one of those where it's like when people complain about it, I'm sitting here going, what number were they drafted
yeah,
at? Because it
yeah,
kind of ends your argument because 31 teams had a chance to bid on Errol Goulden and they didn't. So and I agree with you, Josh Jacobs. I can't even remember what pick he was. It was like
yeah,
yes, he's a father's son. Yes, the kid is talented, but on draft night, he was not seen as that. He wasn't a top 10 pick. So it kind of ruins your argument a little bit. So no, I'm with you on that. It's just the the selective arguing is the point that does irk me off just the tiniest bit. Again, I 100% agree with you and agree with as they said in it. The academies are great for the competition because not all of the academy kids that were in here were actually went to their club. There's several that were not matched that they did go to a new club. So it is going to happen. It's not going to be every year where every single one of these great talented players is going to go there. Most of the time it is because clubs are going to have known about it. But no, I'm with you on that. So let's let's go to the kind of the other side, the father son. Let's talk about it. Harry Dean going at three was again, as we said, very even draft on this one. I mean, Carlton picking up a top five level player here, fantastic for them, and keeping the Dean name at the Carlton Blues.
yeah, look, he's a really, really good player. Like the more and more I watched of him, the more I definitely really enjoyed him, and was a little envious that he was going to Carlton, to be honest, because he was a real point of difference compared to a lot of the others in the top 10. Like he's obviously he's a few centimeters shorter than key position, but at the end of the day, he's that tall defender, intercepting, really good kick, impressive all round, and to be honest, it was. yeah, not a surprise that a club was willing to bid high on him. It did help West Coast out, of course, because it meant they moved up a bit as well with their other pick. But at the end of the day, like they kept him honest, and yeah, like he's just a player that'll come straight in. I think he'll play next year at different points. I think he'll add something. He's what they need as well, like to help
Mhm.
out Wiedering and whatnot. Like he might not start round one, but I don't think he'll be too far off. He's someone who's pretty ready compared to a lot of other tools. So, and having that athleticism too definitely helps because it means that he doesn't have to play necessarily number one. Like he can play as that sort of roaming defender. He can be a bit protected in many ways. So I think that's what they'll probably do. But yeah, he's definitely a quality player.
Yeah, definitely, definitely for sure. So, and I love on draft night because Fox Footy does this great is they love the Bolta. They love talking about the Bolter picks, and there's a couple in the top 15 that I just want to point out really really quickly, just because, I mean, one came out of nowhere. Sullivan Roby, it was one they just absolutely waxed lyrical about Sullivan Roby, and another one that they talked about a lot, especially because of kind of the cool story is Latrell Pickett as well. So run me through these two, because I mean, as you as a recruiter, I mean, Sullivan Roby came out of nowhere. Like there were talks 2 years ago. This guy wasn't even on the radar. I mean, wasn't even looking at me, and he just absolutely had a rocket up his you know what. This has been a take. Tell me about Sullivan Roby and your seeing of this kid's rocket up this draft board.
Oh, he wasn't even on the radar 6 months ago, to be honest. He was playing reserve, like basically captain of the under 19s, I think it was, in his local club, and just trying to get a reserves game. Like that's how far off he was. He got cut by the Stingrays, which they're probably regretting big time what he became. But at the same time, that might have been what he needed. And
Hmm.
yeah, when he started playing at Eastern, particularly, it was like, wow, this kid is something. Like it was just like straight away, you kind of like why on earth didn't anyone see this coming up? Because
Hmm.
ironically, on draft night, by the time draft night came around, he actually went later than where people were expecting. Because there was real talk he was going top five, like really, really high. Like with one of the Richmond picks was the one, and obviously gets bumped back with the picks. But like, yeah, they were expecting sort of Richmond, and then in the end, he sort of slid, if you like, even though it was way higher than where he was meant to be. So he was just an incredible talent, and Pickett, like he's such a great story too. Like, obviously he was the first state combine player to be taken as well. Like he was,
Hmm.
I remember I went over and tested. He actually rocked up 2 hours early to testing, and this might be a bit of a quick funny story, but he rocked up really early and came up and shook everyone's hand. And his name's actually Latrelli. Like he's
Hmm.
got the E at the end, which is interesting. And he did something that I haven't seen in years, which is where he went up. He's a group of us shook each person's hand and said, Latrelli, say our name, Latrelli,
Hmm.
Latrelli. Like, it's like almost like an old traditional kind of thing where rather than, hey, I'm, Latrelli and whatnot, and then just shook everyone's hand, it was like every person looked him in the eye, shook their hand, and I just thought, geez, this kid's impressive. And yeah, he's just bolted through the ranks as well. Like, he's impressed through, Glenelg and doing everything he could do. And he has that X factor. Like, he's that huge risk. Like, Cozzy was a risk at the pick
Hmm.
they took him, and everyone went, "Oh, geez, I don't know." And it could go either way. But at the end of the day, he's got that upside and could be absolutely outstanding for him and add that extra spark. And let's be honest, it probably keeps Cozzy at the club, given that he probably wouldn't have expected both Petrarca and Oliver to walk out. So there is that benefit as well. Obviously, Cozzy's now going to want to stay, and he had committed anyway. But I mean, it gives him that extra incentive. He can work alongside his cousin. It's a really good story, and everyone loves it. And the whole draft night, sneaking Cozzy in to present the jumper was just brilliant. It was one of the things of the night, I think. So yeah, for sure.
Well, even he got snuck in, because originally I don't think he was supposed to be there. I think he even openly admitted it, that he was one of those last second ones where like, oh yeah, sure, you can come in, you can come into the draft night. And so it was
Mm.
fascinating. I agree with you. It was a great story. It'll be fascinating to see, can both the Pickets be on the field. It'll be fascinating to see how the D's go with it. So I I want to go with this really quickly, because the talk of this draft this year was the fact that you had the multiple two picks in a row: West Coast, Richmond, West Coast, Richmond, Essendon, Melbourne. The first eight picks
Mm.
were supposed to be
Mm.
2, 2, and 2. Now, with academy bids and everything like that. That didn't kind of go on, but I mean, talk me through it because West Coast they end out bringing in Will Dersma and Cooper Duff Tyler. Again, I think a couple of really good pieces for them. Richmond, Sam Cummings, Sam McGrill, Sullivan Roby, and Jacob Farrow go to Essendon, and then Taylor and Pickett are your eight minus the
Yeah.
academies. I mean, honestly, for those four clubs, I think quality two player picks that I think bring really good depth to these clubs that really need it.
For sure. And I think particularly like West Coast, I think the haul they got as a whole, I was really, really impressed. I feel like every player they got for good value type
Mhm.
thing. Like every player they got was low, obviously not Dersma because you want to pick one, but everyone else they got for what would be considered good value. I love what they did. They got great ball users, which is the other thing. Like each of those players they got, Rodriguez not so much, but particularly Dersma, Lindsay, Allen, even Williams, like
Mhm.
they can all use the ball really, really well, and that's the big thing. Like if they can really start to get the ball in those young kids' hands, it's going to change the fortunes of that club. So, particularly Dersma and Lindsay, if they play off half back together, that's sorted for them. Absolutely love what they did. Essendon, yeah, like they could never go wrong with who they picked. I think Sharp is a perfect need for them, and particularly if Merritt does walk out the door, that's straight away in a replacement, and he'll play round one. I would be shocked if he didn't play round one next year. Um, yeah, we obviously spoke about Roby, how good he is, and Farrow, he's just the class.
Mhm.
It was like they got Sharp, who's that inside ball winner, and Farrow's the class. So they're able to get both those players really, really good. And Richmond was the interesting one because I had a couple of like the players they took, obviously Grill and Cumming, were two players that I sort of saw as the more similar types inside that top 10, but they are surge players. So they move the ball quickly. They help get it forward. Like couple of questions on their kicking at times, but they're definitely ones that love to win it and take the game on, and they do have that little bit of X factor in the front half as well. So they're not just pure midfielders; they can play forward. Grill can play back. Like it's those things where they can kind of play different positions as well. So that's definitely a ball movement kind of, I guess, decision by Richmond, and it'll be interesting to see how they fit. Now, obviously, they're probably going to get more opportunities than if they went to other clubs. But
Mhm.
at the same time, like it's just continuing what they've done. So
Yep.
yeah, again, really, really good from them. And Melbourne, like we talked about Pickett, but Xavier Taylor was, I reckon, towards the end of the year, was one of my favourite players to watch. And even at the start of the year, just the way he was able to defend and attack at the same time off halfback, I think that's a really valuable skill to have, locking down on an opponent and then hurting them the other way. So,
Yep.
yeah, I think he's a quality player, and I think he's far better. Like he should have been top 10 realistically. So, yeah, I think none of those clubs will be disappointed with what they got for sure.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think it's a pretty even draft class, and they all got different players that fit the needs that they want.
Yeah, Richmond will be interesting because again, we never saw Smiley this year. So again, the
Mm,
depth of Richmond is going to be fun to see this young group grow. And I think I agree with you is the way they kind of played this season. I think Cumming and Grill were perfect pickups for the Richmond Tigers on this one. So I want to go off this next one next question because the one thing I had to admit I loved them talking about it was the fact that you had two guys in the top 15 this year that were rugby union potential steals that the AFL were able to keep, as with Dylan Patterson, who we've already kind of discussed this the tiniest bit with Gold Coast,
mm.
but then I mean Harry Kyle. I mean, so many people were talking about Harry Kyle, and I know as a Swan supporter, there was some worry that said that, and what did the bid for Harry Kyle come a little bit earlier than you were expecting? Because I know that there was some talk amongst Swans fans that this was the one thing that worried us a little bit was is the bid for a Harry Kyle, which I think eventually cost us Carmichael.
Yeah, no, that's essentially what it was. I think coming into draft night, one of them was going to have to be given up, to be honest, out of Kyle and Carmichael, because I think in the end they realised they'd only be able to get three of them. In the end, I think King's bid went a little later than
Yep.
some thought, even. So that probably, in many ways, I think if in hindsight, they may well have been able to match Carmichael and still get King. But I think they thought King's bid was going to come earlier, and they went, "We're not going to risk losing King," because King, like, I don't know, he's got the best highlights package of any player in the draft. To be honest, like, some of the stuff he can do is out of this world. So the fact that they were willing to give up Carmichael, who is the most ready-made and the most, I guess, prestigious, like most accolades of any of them.
Mhm.
Obviously, won MVPs galore, like 16s, 18s, all Australian teams. Like, he's genuinely a lock and loaded player ready to go. He's a Bailey Dale essentially ready to go again. So Bulldogs have now just got that next player in line. And probably one of the first players I'll pick in fantasy, to be honest, if he's getting a game. But he's one of those players that's just an absolute fantastic talent. So no doubt, if the Swans had known, oh, the King bid might come later, I think they probably would have matched the Carmichael one. But
Mhm.
they couldn't risk losing King to get him. So
Yeah.
again, we spoke about that. Clubs can do this and force their hand, make them decide, and then suddenly it's like, oh, there you go. Gold Coast had the same issue with Murray and Adensall. There was a real risk there where they had to weigh up, do we match this bid or don't we? And
Mhm.
I think a lot of clubs knew at that stage that they were summing it up. Adensall was potentially going to West Coast or potentially going elsewhere. If someone had bid 2 or 3 picks earlier, perhaps he does. And
Mhm.
that's the thing. If you want to really break up the academy system, bid early.
Yep.
Throw caution to the wind and force them to match. And if they don't
Yep.
match, you can get them. So
Yep.
yeah,
No, I'm 100% with it, but just for my sake a little bit, because again, this is a young talent. Tell me a little bit about what Harry Kyle's going to bring. Because again, super talented, super athletic. I mean, you're not going to get a bid at 14 if, especially the funny part is GWS again, kind of needling the Swans a little bit. So I have to get the Giants a little bit of kudos here. They trade up just a bid on their crosstown rivals, one of their elite level academy players.
yeah. Look, he's one of those kids that could be anything. And again, like it was kind of the theme. Like um, King's the same, and like they're players that just have that. I guess, highlight worthy kind of game style. He's obviously a lot different coming out of half back and whatnot, and has the potential, obviously, to go in the midfield. He's got all those athletic traits you want. He's still learning the game, and I think that's the thing that um, a lot of people forget. Like, he's going to get a lot better because once he learns the game more and is able to do it more consistently, then he'll be a lot better. Now, they obviously take that risk because he doesn't have the same runs on the board that a Carmichael has. Like, Carmichael's the safe pick. He's the risk, if you like. But in saying that, his upside is far greater as he is compared to a lot of others. So I think they just took the risk at the fact that he might become an absolute, star in the future.
Mhm.
Now, the risk, of course, falls back that he doesn't, and then you're potentially giving up a player that will be a really, really solid contributor for probably 200 plus games. But that's the thing. That's the decisions they have to make, and that's the way they've gone. So he's definitely going to add a lot of athleticism, a lot of excitement. Won't necessarily play early on, but he's someone who, as he learns more, will be a really good addition to sort of half back, maybe rotating mid, that kind of thing. So I
Mhm.
definitely think he adds something if he can really pop up and develop the, I guess, knowledge of the game at that elite level.
Yeah, no, it'll definitely be interesting. Again, it's the risks you're going to take on this. So let's run through it. So we get through the first round again. I really quick let's hop onto it. Josh Lindsay's fall. I know that they really talked about this. Is that and as you kind of said, an incredible steal for West Coast at 19, getting Josh Lindsay, another really good defender in this draft. What many people say is the second best defender behind Harry Dean.
Yeah. Well, he's one of those that obviously I think the reason for his fall is clearly the sort of defensive elements of it. He's clearly got to work on some of those and things like that, and sort of the, I guess, manning up, if you like kind of more
Hmm.
of that accountability. He's your player that you just give the ball to, and he will just kill you, like kill the opposition, because he's the best kick in the draft. He's the player that you get the ball to at all costs, and he'll just find a target. Like, it's
Hmm.
basically um, almost sit and forget, like set and forget type thing. Give him the ball, he'll do the rest, and that's the thing. He can, some of the kicks he can do that just no one else can do, really. So which is exactly what West Coast is crying out for. I think
Hmm.
they've got enough. defenders that can lock down on players, not enough class. And he is that class in spades. Now, obviously, other clubs will cotton onto that. They'll start to put players on him. They'll make sure he doesn't get easy ball. But he's someone who, if they can free him up, he will be very, very good off that half back. And he'll hit targets at will. He might even go up to a wing and play there as well, like just to get the ball inside 50. But yeah, his foot skills are just absolutely sublime.
Yeah, I wanted to get Lindsay in there because again, I remember the Fox Footy coverage was absolutely waxing lyrical about how him
Mm.
falling to 19 was insane. So let's move to round 2, the second day, because a lot like up here in the up here, sometimes championship teams can be built with kids like this. I mean, just look at the star-studded ability of Geelong to be able to draft kids in the 50s and be able to make them. I mean, Lawson Humphrey, another one of their many that for some weird reason are these diamonds in the rough that these teams. So run me through it after round 2. Some of the names that you could see making an impact this year. My usual question, Pete, that I ask you every year: who's a player that could maybe start round 1 that was drafted after the first round?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. There's a lot of, I guess, mature ages which you can turn
Hmm.
to look at that. But I mean, if you want to look outside that, because you just kind of want to just say someone who's ready made from the young kids, I think you could probably look at like a Jack Ison out of Carlton. I think he's someone who could play pretty early. He fits a need for them. He's got the potential. Obviously, if you do go to the mature ages, Angus Anderson, I think, could be a round 1 starter for Collingwood. Clearly, he's played best on ground for Sturt in the grand final, so he's clearly ready made, ready to come in. I think he's someone who could really go early. I think Blake Threadgold, even though he's young, like he's a first year player. I know he's only the first pick of the second round, but for North Melbourne, they need that type of player. So I think he's someone who will start pretty early. And obviously, again, Tobin Murray, one of the mature ages out at Fremantle, he's one clearly is ready made, as is Ty Hayes. So they're the obvious ones. Um, yeah, I think a lot of the kids are potentially not like round 1 starters, but they could make their way in. And I mean, if you look at let's be honest, look at the worst teams, you probably got more chance of playing early. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of the later picks were more speculative, or they've got something to work on, which you would expect. So I definitely think that they're some of the ones, mature ages, and then like your thread golds and things like that could potentially come in. Bamfield's got great endurance. He'd be pretty ready to go for the Saints. Ison would probably be my pick out of all the ones down below if he can get in, because he can play a variety of positions as well. So he's not just having to play midfield. He can play pretty much anywhere. So I think that will really help his case. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him get a really early kind of debut. And yeah, Jack Dalton's another one as well for Hawthorn. Like he's one that he's ready made if they're going to pick him. Whether or not he can squeeze in, I don't know. But he's definitely ready made to play. Got an elite endurance base, and yeah, he can really have an impact. So there's a few, but probably not as much as in past years. I think it's more speculative, but definitely players with, say, talent that could improve rapidly in the right environment. So
Mhm.
they're probably the ones I'd be looking at.
It's always my favorite question every year because I always love hearing some of your answers. Who's that guy from round 2 on that could potentially make a round 1 debut? Always fun. So let's have our little bit of fun. Let's don our fan hats for just a little bit here. All right, Pete, you're looking at, as the Collingwood man that you are. Collingwood walk out with 4 players after this draft. As take your recruiter hat off for just a second. Be fan, Pete. What's your thoughts on your guys that you brought in this draft? I mean, are there ones that you're really excited to see in the black and white?
Yeah, like I mean, for me, it was interesting because I thought we were going to go a tall defender. I thought that's what we needed, and potentially another ruck. I guess we got McCarthy, um, but we definitely needed midfielders, and I think that they filled that in spades. I think I was surprised because I thought when it came around to our pick, when it was like the Printable pick and then the Swaddling pick, I was expecting a Greaves. I thought, oh wow, he slid to us, or I was expecting a Rodriguez because I thought, well, he'll probably be the next one off the board. So I think when they went him, I actually quite like Printable. I think he's a very underrated player. I think he's got a lot of talent, and again, we talk about the academies. They took them off
Hmm.
Brisbane. Like, and I don't know why, we just love bidding on academy players around the 30s and stuff. Like,
Hmm.
obviously getting Cochrane and bidded on Cleary and quite a few others in the past. So I was kind of expecting it. It was almost like when I came to it, I went, who are we going to bid on? Because you're kind of just waiting for it. I thought it would be Coulson as well, but yeah, got Printable, which makes sense because we rated him a bit higher than where he was. He was probably rated around those 40s to early 50s, and that's what you got to do. Take him a bit earlier because they probably knew if they went a bit later, he may well have been matched. So um, I really like him as a player, so I think he's really good. Swaddling, I think, is already made. He fits a need. I was expecting, like I said, I was expecting a Greaves or a Rodriguez. So I think at the end of the day, he's sort of probably the most ready-made of those guys. And I think he'll also really add something like the way that he works, the way that he finds the ball. He can play in multiple positions too. I think that's the key. Like, I think that's what separates him from, say, a few of the others that are around the mark. So I can definitely see why they selected him. Um, and you know, and as you go down, McCarthy obviously we knew was coming, so that's great. In the end, we just picked him because again, no one bid on him, so which I thought was a little bit surprising, considering he was touted early in the year as a potential top 20 player, and then sort of top 30, and then we thought, oh, well, hopefully he comes after our first pick, and then no one bid on him in the end, and in the end we just had to pick him. So again, we'll remember that for future if he ever becomes a star because no one bid on him. So, but yeah, and then Anderson, yeah, I mean, no one would have seen that coming. That's just, I feel like that is a break glass in case of emergency. Like he's a gun. Like looking at his highlights, he's a gun ready made. But he's that player that if the inside mids we've picked over the 2 years aren't ready to play now, he's the one that you bring in and go, right, we know he can do a job. The others might have upside because they're like 4 years younger and got potential and stuff. But he's the one you can slot in. He could play round one. He fills an exact need what we need, like what we're
Hmm.
after. So I think for me, he's the guy that it's like an insurance policy, but he's also a very good player in his own right. And he's done the hard yards. Like he used to be Swans Academy. He came through. He was one of those players, won a heap of the ball. Didn't really have the impact, but now he's gone through the state league programs and he's been able to have that impact. And best on ground in a team like with Sturt's talent, the way they went through the season, I think that's no easy feat. And he's definitely earned his shot. So I think that he'll be someone that could play early and he gets his chance. So we'll see what he can do. And at that pick, it's a free hit. So we'll watch to see how he transitions because I think that's the big question mark. How do you transition from state league to AFL, and if you can do that? So if he can do that, then yeah, he could be a bargain at that pick. So yeah, overall, I think we walk away with some needs, which is all you want, and there weren't going to be any top 10 picks. Top 10 players we're walking away with, so they've all got their improvements, but yeah, overall we picked up some needs, which is all you can really ask, I guess.
Yeah, Anderson's that great stopgap player, as you said. He's that perfect plug-in. He's the center gap to get you to the younger players from
Mm,
what you already have on the list. Now,
yeah,
100% with you. So, and then let me have my Homer situation with my Swans again. We talked about Kyle a little bit, so let's put him to the side just the tiniest bit. But Philippou, Cootie, and King, and we kind of discussed King a little bit. So, I mean, Jevin Philippou, I mean, I know a lot of people were super high on him, kind of falls back. They get him at 35. I mean, is this a little bit of a steal for the Swans?
yeah. Well, he was pretty high on him, so yeah, yeah, like definitely, like he's one of look, he's excitement. Like you've basically picked up like, well, the first three anyway. High risk, high reward players. I think is the best way of putting it. Philippou's probably the most certain of the three, to be honest, which is kind of funny. But yeah, like it's a lot of X factor. Philippou's he's just got it. I think he would have gone a lot higher if he'd played more this year. Like obviously was kept out for a fair while, didn't quite get to play as much as he would have liked clearly through injury and things like that. But when he did play, he was very, very impressive. And I think for a lot of people, he was one that could have gone in first round. I know Dyson Sharp rated him really, really highly, thought he was clearly a first rounder. So to get him at the value you did is fantastic and things like that. Now, much like a lot of players at that age when they're so good, he's still got to work on that defensive element to his game, but offensively he's such a great player, so damaging. So I think that's what it'll be. He'll be that showstopper. It'll just be whether he can build that defensive game, which again is probably the reason he slid. But at that pick, it's definitely a bargain for a player of his quality.
No, definitely for sure. I'm fascinated again. Like the Fox footy people were absolutely waxing lyrical about it. So there was part of me that was like, as disappointed as I was to lose Carmichael the night before, like the Philippou edition might make that ease that a little bit again. I agree with you that there's a lot of guess we'll see type of situation, but that's the way the draft always is. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but before we get out of here, I have to ask another question I'm used to every year. On your draft guide, you have your top 26 of 26. I know again, 365, so much looking forward. Give me some names that we're going to talk about next year at the top of the draft board because again, your work is impeccable again. I cannot wait to see this. So give me some names that we're definitely going to be talked about night one of the draft in 2026.
Yeah, for sure. And I should also preface this with clearly a lot of the work, or basically all the work that goes into the draft guide and the 26 and 26 is all like my colleague Michael Alvaro, obviously AFL draft editor. So he does a lot of this work that he definitely deserves credit for. Obviously, I help out, but he does the bulk of it. And certainly from what we've seen going over the under 16s carnivals and watching these kids, like Dougie Corcoran, I mean, pretty clear top pick for me, with Cody Walker being the other one. Like I think those two will have a great duel for the pick one. And as everyone loves, they're club tied, so
Mhm.
that's great. Him getting to Port Adelaide was that was a big coup for them. And obviously, yeah, like we said, Walker is one that I think will. Only get better. He's so professional. He's ready made. He's such a great player. And yeah, he's already been dominating as a bottom major, to be honest. He's one of the more impressive Vic Country players as a bottom major. So that's definitely one that I think will go well. For me, obviously, you've got Heath Melody over in WA is one that really impressed me. He had a really big finish to the year, so I think he'll go on with it pretty well. You've got a former MVP winner in Matt Owen at the Lions. So they've all got players that are kind of could go up high again. I think that they'll be around the mark. Jack Pickett had a very good end of the year with the Falcons. I think he's one to keep an eye on. Marlon Neocleus, obviously, he's very small, but probably very stiff to miss the academy, but I kind of makes sense because of his height. They probably are away from it, but he's very, very classy, kind of like that Nick Watson height, and very, very good around goals. Noah Williams is another one who really impressed me. I watched him very closely on National Futures game, and he can play in a range of positions and just was so good finding the ball, moving it, and getting it forward. So I think he's out of the Falcons as well. So they've got a couple of good prospects coming through, but yeah, like I think there's a clear top two next year, Corcoran and Walker. Um, and yeah, I think after that it's pretty even at this stage. Obviously, that'll fields itself out as the year goes on. But yeah, Cochrane and Walker are the two that I would have as the clear. They've gapped the rest of the field at the moment.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of your Harley Reeds where you got a couple that are just, I mean, there, and then everybody else is kind of a step or two down. So, no, as per usual, Pete, fantastic. I love sitting down and talking with you again. You tell everybody at Rookie Me Central again, it is fantastic the work that they do. Again, I pour through this over the weeks going into the draft, trying to learn as much as I can about it. Again, my distance makes it to where this really is such a helpful tool for me. So again, relay that to the people that work on this. Incredible work as per usual. So I know this is the men's, but let's jump really to it. I mean, let me know, sir. how soon will we get the women's guide? Because I know that the women's season, we as we record now, the grand final is this upcoming weekend. We're recording on a Monday evening for Pete, a Monday early morning for myself. That the women's season is almost over, which means trade period and draft for the women.
Yeah, well, it really depends when this episode comes out because Draft Guide comes out next Tuesday. So, depending on when this comes out, it might be already out. But yeah, it's yeah next Tuesday, December 2. So if it's already out, then you've probably already seen it. If it's not already out, it's yeah next Tuesday. So I'm sort of just finished off the last few profiles for that. I decided to do the enviable task of doing full page profiles for the national and state players. So there's 92 of them with full pages. Um, I probably started regretting that midway through when I realized how much work that was. But yeah, it's so even. Like that's the thing. There's a lot of players who got state combine invites that I think probably deserve to get national. So it's a lot different to the boys. There are only 46 that got the national combine. So for me, it's 20 less than the boys, and it would have been quite small. So I thought, well, I can't half do the state combine people, so I just did them all. And yeah, I reckon when I got through to about 70, I was regretting it a lot because it was a lot of work. But hopefully, yeah, everyone enjoys it and it should be good. But yeah, over this week we'll have every profile up on our site anyway with all the details and full everything. So that's yeah, that's really exciting. Looking
Yeah,
forward to
it's
it for sure.
always look forward to the always look forward to the women's guide is just as much as I do the men's. I cannot wait. So this should be out before
Yeah.
if everything works out, this should be out for those listening to it. This should be out later on in the week. So I should have this out before the weekend. So it should be out way before the guide is. But now that I have something to look forward to in my email on December 2nd up here, I cannot wait. So again, Pete, fantastic work. It is always so much fun to chat with you. I know you and I will be rejoining here to cover the women's free agency and trade period here in a little bit. I know we get plenty of conversations late in the year. It's always so much fun. So again, Pete, thank you again so much for hopping on a podcast. Again, incredible work that you guys do at rookiemecentral.com.
No, no, thanks, thanks for that, and yeah, no, definitely enjoy chatting footy, and yeah, it's almost time for a break. Well, for most people who just do the men's, it's time for a break, but then you get over this hill, take a sigh of relief, and then go, "There's another one just there." So yeah, but it's a lot of fun. It's always great to come to the end, and that's where all your work kind of culminates in the draft guide and on draft night, and yeah, it's definitely worthwhile. And then you just kind of go into a bit of hibernation for a little while until you can get back and start again. The first testing event we do is the end of January, so it's pretty much a month off, and then back in it and start again. So
Well,
yeah.
like I said, we'll get through that and then we'll let you have your month hibernation before you hop back in and back to the incredible work that you guys do.
Mm.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for another episode of Donnie's Disposals. Again, keep an eye out. This will be out. The women's grand final and season review will then be after that. We'll have the women's draft guide. And as per usual, my supporter series is coming up. I'm already starting to get things together. I think you guys are going to enjoy it this year. I am talking to footy mad female fans this year. I cannot wait. Finding out what it's like to be a fan on the female side. Cannot wait. I've already got a few set up, hopefully, before the Christmas holiday and then full bore after the Christmas holiday in January and February. I'm also working on a few fun conversations as well, some other interviews, hopefully trying to get a few players, maybe a coach here or there. We'll try to have some fun over the off season to get us to March to the start of the men's season again, as per usual. So that is going to do it for this episode of Donnie's Disposals, and we'll be back with more footy coverage very, very soon.